You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate you and the ranking member holding this hearing. I reading the Wall Street Journal today, big data firms strike tax inversion deal. Why? Because our friends in the UK offer a 25% rate and we have a 35% rate. I agree with what Mr. Nunes has said about trying to lower that corporate rate, eliminating the deductions and exemptions. I agree with what the good doctor from Texas said about having all American families pay the same rate, ending the disparity. But rather than dealing with it from an income perspective, I deal with it from a consumption perspective. And like the good doctor from Texas, this is not a new idea. H.R. 25, the fair tax, while it is the most widely co-sponsored fundamental tax reform proposal in the House, while its roots are in bipartisanship, we first had one Republican and one Democrat, we then had two Republicans and two Democrats, then four Republicans and four Democrats. Then two of those Democrats retired, and one of those Democrats became a Republican, and our bipartisanship was lost. But we started down that road, and this goes back not just through Congressman John Linder, not just through Congressman Schaefer from Colorado, not just from Senator Dick Lugar, who pushed a sales tax back in the day. It goes all the way back to Governor Jerry Brown, who I believe ran for president on this same kind of platform. This idea that we should be encouraging savings, we should be encouraging productivity, we should be dealing with consumption. I do share the ranking member's frustration that we're talking about it again rather than doing something about it, though, Mr. Chairman, it's been 15 years by my count since this committee last held a members panel to talk about the big fundamental proposals, and I'm grateful to you for putting this on the counter. It hasn't happened in years past. I've got the front page from a joint committee on taxation tax modeling project from 1997. This was when Bill Archer was running the committee, and absolutely every group they brought in, from the left to the right, modeling a consumption tax relative to our current system, said we could grow the American economy faster with a consumption tax. I could support any consumption tax we're talking about here. I think mine is best. I just need us to start moving. Mine's the furthest down the road. I want us on this road getting started. Fair tax does a couple of things no other proposal does. Takes the corporate tax rate to zero. This fiction that businesses pay taxes has to be stopped. Businesses don't pay taxes. They collect them from their employees in lower wages, they collect them from their consumers in higher prices, or they collect them from their holders of capital in lower rates of return. Businesses do not pay taxes. They collect taxes from other entities and pass them along. I think we should be honest about that. My proposal deals with the payroll tax. 80% of American families pay more in payroll taxes than they pay in income taxes, and yet we seem obsessed with the income tax code. If you really want to help working families move up that ladder, you've got to deal with the payroll tax code. The fair tax does that. And the fair tax recognizes that compliance is not just an expense, not just a disincentive, but a solvable problem. You may not know, but the economic census that the Census Bureau conducts tells us that 908 businesses in this country sell 60% of all the product. The bottom, or the top 10%, 8.8% of businesses in this country sell 87% of all of the product. What I'm proposing is moving the tax code away from 200 million individual American citizens and families, having them pay the tax when they purchase goods at the retail level, but have the tax collection and payment, the auditing process, focused on those folks who are doing the selling. Take businesses out of the role of paying taxes, but leave them in the role of collecting taxes. Take citizens out of the role of having to report taxes, leave them in the role of paying taxes. It frustrates me that I look at former Soviet bloc countries and they're all moving to low-rate, simple, consumption-based taxes. If it's good enough for the Soviet Union former republics to grow their economies, it has to be good enough for us to grow ours. I know if you sit on this committee, it's easy to see how picking winners and losers through the tax code can help America to succeed more. I don't want to do that, and I understand the kind of authority that takes away from this committee and it takes away from this institution. But what I propose is a tax code with no exemptions, no exceptions, no deductions, just a simple rebate for folks up to poverty level spending to insulate the poor from being punished, and a free-for-all above that level. If you drive that Mercedes, you pay for it. If you drive that used Ford Fiesta, we believe you deserve a break. And with that, Mr. Chairman, thank you so much for having me here today.
This right here is why the so-called black dollar and supporting so-called black business doesn't matter. Check this out. HR 25 is to promote freedom, fairness, and economic opportunity by repealing the income tax and other taxes, abolishing the IRS, and enacting a national sales tax to be primarily or administered primarily by the states. This was January 3rd, 2019. These are all the representatives, House representatives, that were part of this bill. This was a proposal, right? Now, the reason why I say supporting black business don't fucking matter is because it don't matter how much you support that so-called black business. They're gonna tax the fuck out of you. So you're gonna stay in the same status that you've been in. You don't have to believe me. Let's read what Congress said. Congressional findings, right? Findings related to federal income tax. Congress finds that the federal income tax retards economic growth and has reduced the standard of living of the American public. So it don't matter if you support black businesses, they're gonna tax the hell out of you. Reduces savings and investment in the United States by taxing income multiple times. So it don't matter if you think you're a broker all of a sudden, or you know how to invest on Instagram and you're looking at stocks and bonds. It don't matter, dummy. They just need you to continue to believe in their false matrix, their bullshit system, because you're going to abide by their bullshit laws. It lowers productivity. It imposes unacceptable and unnecessary administrative and compliance costs on individual and business taxpayers. So support black business for what? So that way all their money can go to the U.S. government because they're being taxed to death? Support them for what? How about you create your own business in Elodium, but you don't know anything about that because all you know is that black rhetoric. You don't know you don't understand common law whatsoever. Look, it's unfair and inequitable. It unnecessarily intrudes upon the privacy and civil rights of United States citizens. So how you black and talk about civil rights movement, but then you paying taxes? If they're admitting to you that the IRS and the federal income tax violates your civil rights. So you really ain't black. You ain't about black power and black economics. You're lying. It hides the true cost of government by embedding taxes and the cost of everything Americans buy. Is not being complied with at satisfactory levels and therefore raises the tax burden on law-abiding citizens. That's why when Donald Trump came into office and people were asking him about his tax returns, he was like, I don't got to show you shit. Why? Because he ain't paying shit. It's only for the dummies. Impedes upward social mobility. So it don't matter how much your so-called black business makes. If you register it with the United States, I'm not talking about allodial businesses. I'm not talking about allodial businesses right now. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about men and women who own businesses in their own right. I'm talking about so-called black people who register their business with any of these states of the United States. This is what they're doing to you. They're impeding your upward social mobility. So it don't matter how much you make according to your tax bracket. They're going to tax you more and more and more and more. Why? Because they got your dumbasses think, oh, tax the rich higher. Stupid. It's going to impede your upward social mobility. Stupid. How about you do the research on how taxes are voluntary? How about you look that up in the United States Code? How about you look that up in the Code of Federal Regulations? How about you look up in the IRS Code where it talks about you may pay taxes? It don't say you have to. It don't say you must. It don't say it's mandatory by law. Because you don't even read. Let's look this up. Federal payroll taxes. Congress finds further that the Social Security and Medicare payroll taxes and self-employment taxes raises the cost of employment. So if you're trying to support these black-owned businesses, and you register as an employee, not an independent contractor, that business is going to get taxed again. Destroys jobs and causes unemployment. So you think you just in poverty because you black. Nah, they're taxing you out of your business. It don't matter how much you make. The more you make, the higher the tax bracket. The higher the tax bracket, the more they take from you. Dummy. And then you're going to register. Then you're going to record all your shit with them. Dummy. Has a disproportionately adverse impact on lower income Americans. Who the fuck they talking about? You and your so-called black-owned business. Then look. Findings relating to federal estate and gift taxes. Congress finds further that the federal estate and gift taxes, one, force family businesses and farms to be sold by the family to pay such taxes. So they're raising taxes so high that you have to sell your property. And what did Prophet Noble Drew Ali tell you? You're going to be taxed to death. You're going to be taxed out of your house, home, and business. You don't want to be Moors yet? You don't want to defend yourself yet? You don't want to nationalize yet and declare your allegiance to your people and not to them, which means you don't have to register your business with them, but you don't want to do that. You want to be black. It fosters the continued dominance of large enterprises over small family-owned companies and farms. What? Come on! What else does it do? It imposes unacceptability, high tax planning costs on small businesses and farms. What more do you want? What more do you want to know? This is why supporting black business don't matter. Get mad at me. Don't worry. I already comprehend. I get it. It's easier for you to get mad at me than for you to get mad at all these people right here who knew about this and didn't tell you about it. And then yo, peep game. Watch this. Watch this right here. Look. Not only did they introduce it in 2019, they introduced it in 2005, 2008, and 2009. How many of you so-called black-owned businesses knew this? This is why your business don't matter. Look, check this out. Let's see if I can find this real quick. I think it's Code of Federal Regulations. Maybe this is it right there thing. Oh, yup, right here. Look, let's click on this. Look, check it out. The tax system is based on voluntary compliance. Bro, you don't have to pay taxes. Come on, what are you doing? Look, let's see if it shows the definition of this. Code of Federal Regulations, right there. Code of Federal Regulations, which means this is federal law. This ain't my opinion. Look, the Internal Revenue Code. Look. Tax return forms and instructions. The tax system is based on voluntary compliance. Let's look up the word voluntary. Look, done, given, or acting of one's own free will, meaning you have the choice to not pay taxes. But you don't even know that. And then you're going to support a black business who they don't even understand that they don't have to pay taxes. Then they're going to pay over 40% of their business earnings, give it to these people, and then complain about, taxation is theft. I'm living paycheck to paycheck. Bro, you're doing it voluntarily of your own free will. And guess what it says in the Bible, since our people are so Christian? I'm going to paraphrase. It says, all the devil did was say, come. You're the dumbass that answered. All they say is, dear taxpayer, tax season is coming. Then they put all the commercials on TV to get you brainwashed for it. And then you just willingly submit it. Because look, voluntary, done, given, or acting of one's own free will. If you really want to support a black-owned business, first of all, tell them they ain't black. Nationalize them. And explain to them how they don't have to pay taxes to a government that don't represent them. Here's proof that they don't represent you. They murder your people in the streets. Period. How about you support a Moorish-owned business? How about that? How about you support a business where the owners have a nationality and they comprehend law and they know which laws apply to them and which laws don't? Stop listening to these dumbass black leaders telling you to comply with these laws that you don't have to abide by because it says it on the law itself. But no, you want to be a coward. You want to register your business with the state. Oh, if I don't do it, then they're going to do something to me. Oh, so now you scared. How you a man and you scared? Don't get it twisted. Being afraid is a natural human feeling. Being fearful is not. So, if you're afraid of them doing something to you, how about you link with your people, teach your people self-defense, so that way if anyone tries to mess with your allodial businesses, you can defend yourself. Then get a law book, Bouvier's Law Dictionary, Ballantyne's Law Dictionary, Henry Campbell Black's Law Dictionary, and look up the definition of business, and you'll see that the word business has no legal definitive meaning, which means they can't have you register your business, and they can't have you have business licenses, because one, when you register your business, the word register means to record, right? And then a license is permission, and then the word business, when you look it up, again, it says it has no technical legal definition. And then it also goes, it starts to explain it in detail, and it'll say it's everything you do in your life is your business. So now you're going to record everything you do in your life, right? Because that's what registering your business is. Then if you don't register the business, you get a business license. The word license means permission. So you're going to tell me you need permission to do anything in your life? This is what Moors have been trying to teach so-called black people since 1913. But no, they get so caught up in the where Egypt Kemetic black. No, you're not. Actually, you are, because the word black means dead. Dead means, black means dead in the views of the law. Since you don't understand law and you don't know your own rights, you're considered dead. It's as if you don't have any. This is what Moore's been trying to tell you, but you don't want to listen because you're so stuck on the black bullshit. Then you're going to say, oh, no, that's the white man stuff. Why are you letting the white man define your words? Okay, stupid ass. You went to the white man school, right? The white man told you were a slave, even though he ain't really the white man, but I'm just going by your stupid ass rhetoric. The white man told you was a slave. The white man told you was black. The white man told you were Negro. The white man told you were colored. The white man told you were descendant of a slave. And guess what you fucking believe? Stupid. But then we try to tell you, look up Henry Campbell Black's Law Dictionary. Look up these definitions. Then you're going to say, nah, the white man wrote that book. Then we show you in the book where it says free white person. It does not mean Aryan race, Caucasian race, or Indo-European races. And then you deny it. They admit that they're not even the white man. So your whole excuse is moot. But you don't even know what moot means because you don't want to study law. It's called cognitive dissonance. That's what you have. Look it up.
H.R. 25, the fair tax, is the most comprehensive recognition that we can do away with the income tax. We can repeal the 16th Amendment that even made the income tax possible in this country. We can return to a consumption tax so that we all have skin in the game in how this government is run and operated. We can ensure the solvency of Social Security and Medicare by changing the way we collect the revenue stream for those programs. We can put more money in workers' pockets by eliminating the largest tax that 85% of American families pay in eliminating that FICA tax. We can put America back on top economically, as we tried to do in 1986, as we saw happen during the 1990s as a result of those tax code changes. And we can return America to being an exporter to the world, not just an importer from the world. Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to have that debate. If someone believes that disadvantaging the American worker is valuable in some way, let's talk about it. If someone sees a hidden benefit to making it harder for the rest of the world to buy American goods, let's talk about it. And let me understand those benefits with you. But if you share my vision of American exceptionalism, that being in the top 5 isn't good enough, that being number 1, being the leader, being the definer of success is the only thing that's going to be good enough for the families that each and every one of us represent, then go back and look at H.R. 25 one more time. I understand, having just passed tax reform, the largest tax reform in a generation, folks wonder if we're able to do even more. We can. I understand that having this tax day be the very last tax day that any American family has to deal with the old complicated code, folks wonder, can we do even better for next tax year? We've already done better for next tax year, Mr. Speaker, but we can do even more. I just want you to know, Mr. Chairman, that there's still time. I've heard talks about tax reform part 2 percolating around here and there. And if I could just put one thing on the bipartisan plate, one of the things the fair tax deals with that nobody else does is the payroll tax. Of course, it's the largest tax that 85% of American families pay. And if we really want to talk about families and dealing with paychecks in a way that hits them each and every pay period, we've got to have that payroll tax conversation. We have to have it sooner rather than later because Social Security and Medicare aren't going to be able to meet their obligations under the current tax system. Take a look at the fair tax. Dozens upon dozens of your colleagues have already recognized its merits. Dozens upon dozens of your colleagues have already recognized our opportunity to stop fighting the economic battle with one arm tied behind the American worker's back. I celebrate the success that we achieved together, Mr. Speaker. I celebrate the coming together in the name of making a better economy possible for American workers and their families. Let's take that success and let's build on that success. And let's not have this be the last tax day that we celebrate. Let's celebrate today that we will never have to deal with the old tax code again. And let's anticipate that day where we'll never even have tax day again. Because in the absence of an income tax, the American family need never deal with the IRS again. Let's eliminate April 15th as tax day. Let's make it just another beautiful spring day. Let's relieve the American family of the burden of complying with the tax code. Let's free the American family and American businesses to do what's in their own families and their own businesses' best interest. Make tax day just another day, Mr. Speaker. Support the fair tax.
You know, the fair
with that,
tax
I yield back the balance of my time.
It's a tax bill, but at its heart, it's a freedom bill. You know, what the fair tax is, Mr. Speaker, if you hadn't looked at it recently, it's a fundamental change in the way we tax America. Today, we tax income. And, of course, the power to tax is the power to destroy. The power to tax, the power to destroy. I ask young people when I go to schools to speak, I say, who wants to come to work for me? I'm going to work you hard, and I'm going to work you long, but I'm going to get you $10 an hour. $10 an hour. I get a couple of hands that go up. Apparently, $10 an hour is not as much today as it was back in my day. I'd have jumped at $10 an hour, but I get hands that go up for $10 an hour. Then I say, but I'm going to have to tax you $9 of that, so you're only going to be able to take home $1. Now who wants to come work long hours for me? All the hands go down. The power to tax productivity is the power to destroy productivity. The power to tax income is the power to destroy income. Why? Why do we want to destroy that makes this country great? So the fair tax shifts that paradigm. Instead of taxing what people produce, we want to tax what people consume, a consumption tax. You've all seen it. It's in your sales tax back home on what you consume, and we could do it. We could do it. I'll tell you, the fair tax is a jobs program, because when we stop taxing productivity, we get more of it. That creates jobs. I'll tell you, the fair tax is about transparency. You know, Mr. Speaker, the payroll tax, that 15.3 cents out of every dollar that comes out of your paycheck, Mr. Speaker, that FICA line that you see, now 7.65% comes from the employee. The other 7.65 is hidden as an employer tax, but it's a 15.3% payroll tax. Did you know, Mr. Speaker, that 80% of American families pay more in the payroll tax than they do in the income tax? 80% of American families pay more in the payroll tax than they do in the income tax. Now, I just got back from Thanksgiving. I've got doctors in my family. I've got teachers in my family. I've got all sorts of folks, so I can assure you, Mr. Speaker, I got an earful throughout the entire Thanksgiving dinner. It was more of a 3-day festival for me, Thanksgiving, different sides of the family coming into town, and I got lots of good advice about how we should do things differently up here. But you know, not one person mentioned the payroll tax. No, the income tax was a hot topic. Hot topic. But nobody mentioned the payroll tax, and it's the biggest tax that 80% of Americans pay. Why? Because the payroll tax is hidden in every single paycheck that you get. You don't feel it. The government gets its share first. You get your share second. You don't feel it go away unless, Mr. Speaker, you're one of the self-employed folks in America. And instead of paying the 15.3% payroll tax, you pay the equivalent 15.3% self-employment tax. And then you feel the bite of that tax each and every day. You know that's the biggest tax that you pay. The fair tax, instead of allowing all of those taxes to be hidden in business taxes, hidden in income taxes, hidden in payroll taxes, separated out so you don't feel the pain, the fair tax takes your entire federal tax burden and sticks it into one rate, a sales tax on everything that you buy. One rate. Now, that rate would have to be 23%. That's a big number. 23% is what the sales tax rate, the payroll tax, the fair tax rate would need to be in order to replace federal income taxes on businesses, on individuals, federal payroll taxes on businesses, on individuals, the gift tax, the death tax, the capital gains tax, the dividend tax, all of those federal taxes on income. The fair tax could replace them all with a 23% personal consumption tax there at the cash register. And you'd see it, Mr. Speaker. Can you imagine? Today I can just raise an excise tax here, raise 0.25% on an income tax there. I can do lots of funny math, as they like to do in Washington, D.C. Because folks can't feel the pain. They always think, oh, it's not going to tax me. It's going to tax somebody else. Yes, I vote yes because it's going to tax him instead of me. The fair tax puts us all in the same boat and lets us see how much the United States government costs us. You know, I'm a cost-conscious shopper, Mr. Speaker. I brought a marker down here with me today just in case I had to write any big red marks on my chart. This was free with rebate at Office Max last week. I don't know if anybody else got it. Free with rebate for this marker. Dollars and cents matter. We make different decisions in our personal purchasing life when we experience those costs. Transparency lets you know how much your government is costing you. Does everybody want a free marker? Yes. Does everybody want to pay the $6.95 it would have been if it wasn't free with rebate? I think not. Puts the entire cost of government out where you can see it. And most importantly, the fair tax is about individual freedom. Folks, have you thought about how the tax code manipulates your life? It doesn't matter whether you sit on the far right over here with the Republicans or you sit on the far left over there with Democrats. Sometimes something happens when you show up in Washington, D.C., and you do. You believe you're the smartest person in the room. Everybody tells you how wonderful you are. You think your ideas are so great. And you decide, you know what? I should reward people for doing this behavior, and I should punish them from doing that behavior. And if I do it, they'll be happier, and America will be better. So what am I going to do? I'm going to put a tax on gasoline because I don't want people driving to work. That's bad. And then I'm going to put a tax credit on electric vehicles, right? Because that's green. We were talking about green earlier, Mr. Speaker. So I'm going to put a tax credit on electric vehicles. So I'm going to punish those people who buy oil at the community gas station, and I'm going to reward those people who go out and buy these $60,000, $70,000, and $80,000 electric vehicles. Well, I don't actually think. But we have the power to do that. We can manipulate your behavior every day of the week by changing how the tax code touches your pocketbook. You know, I was talking about that electric vehicle tax credit. That wasn't just an example. That wasn't just something I made up. Do you remember when the president passed, this president passed his energy bill? It included in it a tax credit, $6,500, for everyone who would go out and buy an electric vehicle. Well, again, the Volt was not on the market at the time in the 40s, and the only electric vehicles out there were in the $80,000, $90,000 range. But Americans are industrious, which is why if you leave America to Americans, we're going to be just fine. But Americans are industrious, and what they just found out was if they put brake lights on their golf cart, side view mirrors, some good seat belts up front, some headlights, and windshield wipers, that the Department of Transportation would certify that golf cart as a road-ready vehicle, and they could get the $6,500 tax credit. Oh. Now, it turns out you can't buy an American-made golf cart for $6,500, Our golf carts are a little more expensive than that. But our friends in China, not only are they willing to share their oil with us, guess what? They're willing to share their golf carts with us too. So it turned out, at the end of tax year 2009, Americans were literally standing in line for a VIN number for a Chinese golf cart so that they could claim this tax credit. Free golf carts for all. Did anybody get one, Mr. Speaker? Did you get that free golf cart? Don't tell me if you did. I know some folks who did. I'm not proud of it, but I know some folks who did. Free golf carts for all from the United States tax code. Folks, when we bring all that power and all that authority here, it gives us the power to manipulate your life, and we don't always manipulate it for the powers of good. And I would tell you, even when we are trying to manipulate it for the powers of good, as the president was trying to manipulate it for the powers of good in his energy bill, we run afoul. We run afoul. Why do we need to pay people to engage in behavior? We make those decisions each and every day. The fair tax abolishes the income tax code so that no longer can people who think they're the smartest person in the room in Washington tell you how to live your life.